Has anyone seen this movie? Unfinished Business? It's kind of funny. It's worth it. They ended up doing some crazy stock photos where they pretend to look serious, and you can use these in decks royalty-free. So I thought it was fitting because there's a lot of unfinished business in metrics and reporting and optimization. And Vince Vaughn, I mean, that's pretty easy. So the story starts this way. I'm not going to bore you with percentages and things like that. We're just going to have a little chat around the story of this thing that I built with the head team. We like to look at people's environments from a virtualization perspective and figure out what can we do to make it better, what can we do to optimize it, because y'all are busy, you got stuff going on, you have fire alarms going off when you try to attend sessions. I mean, there's things that are happening, and we try to kind of assist with that, figure out what are you doing from a storage, network, compute, et cetera, perspective. And the challenge was that takes a lot of time, right, for you and for us. It takes a lot of time to get in there and do that optimization service. And I'm thinking, man, we got a lot of really smart people here. We got all these VCDXs and stuff. We got some smart architects, and we're wasting so much time just getting to like the fruit or like climbing the tree, trying to pluck that apple, and we finally get to it. It takes too long. So the challenge was, how can we make that better? And the idea that we came up with was to build kind of this optimization framework to discover what's going on in the environment, right? Put our peepers on, our monocle, whatever you prefer. See what's in there, analyze it, figure out where we can make change, meaningful change in your environment. Maybe you've got weird pathing issues. Maybe you've got a bazillion LUNs. You're running the wrong version of vSphere. It's old and cruddy. Anybody on vSphere 4.0 still? A brave hand. Merch, you're on 4.0? Where's your, okay. Upgrade. We need to get an AOS for you. Okay. How about 4.1? Man, nobody's, all right, cool. Everybody's on 5 or later, right? So we analyze all that and then remediate it, right? So we work with you to figure out what do we have to do. Either we'll just help you by saying, here's the steps. We actually do some of it. But there's a lot of ways that we can do this process. So this is what I wanted to do and was taking forever, a couple months to do, et cetera. And Eric Kaplan, our CTO, kind of came to me and said, this process kind of sucks, right? It's taking a long time, and we keep having all these problems where we want to help people quickly, and we're not able to do that. So I use the challenge accepted dude, because that's basically, I was like, how hard can this be? Just throw some stuff in there, write some PowerShell code, whizzed wham, it's all done. And I found out that the tools that were out there really sucked. So we work as a partner with a lot of these tools. I won't name any because that might be a career-limiting move, but they were all focused on a single point in time, or they were really complex. You had to deploy this big, heavy, old thing. Anyone that's also been in the partner business has used some VMware tools that probably run on a 386 in someone's closet somewhere and suffers month-wide outages. So that sucked. Or you use these scripts, and having someone come into your environment and say, yeah, I want to run this script, that's not always like an easy sell. You'll say, well, what's the script do? Don't worry about it, just run it. Trust me. Outside of vCheck, that's tough. And it's just tough from a time to value. It takes a long time to get this data. And once we get it, we get done with it, and then we have to start all over again. So these were the limitations kind of set upon me and my colleague Brian and Kelly and such, that we were looking at this and saying, this kind of sucks. So what do we do? What's going to happen here? We could continue to run like this hot glue gun methodology, and I don't know. It's okay. It'll get the job done, sort of. But who wants to come in and like spread hot glue gun everywhere? Or we could work with a number of different products and try to piece them together. But then it starts to look like my good friend Rube Goldberg's idea of a machine. And I think in this case, it turns on a light bulb with all that stuff. So we either had a complex situation with all these different tools, or it was just really hokey. So the idea was, sad panda is sad because there's really no good way to solve this problem. There's no out-of-the-box thing that we could provide to do this. Has anyone seen the Sad Panda is Sad movie before? Man, you have now been exposed to Sad Panda. All right, like maybe 3 or 4 hands. There's a lot of memes here. You go to memegenerator.net, you'll find all these things. Basically, that's where, if you were to look at like my browser history, it's just all this. So all my time cards, they're all fake. I'm just looking at meme the whole time. So we needed the new model. We needed to figure out a better way to do this and figure out a way to deliver it quickly. I've got basically this premise here where we said we need to deliver this as a service. Okay? We need to figure out a way that we could run optimization type ideas through your environment rapidly It had to be kind of software as a service based. We needed to be able to pour, like brain dump our expert analysis into the tool. And we needed to be real time, no point in time crap. It needed to be ongoing, real time, very easy to deploy, and needed to be continuous reporting and trending. So this is kind of what we wanted. We do this methodology where we take current state and desired state, and we figure out how to go from A to B. So we did the same thing internally. We said, this is what we want, this is desired state. And we said, this is specifically the criteria for success, the critical success factors of this particular solution. So it had to be easy to install, right? Shouldn't take, a mad scientist or something to put the thing in. Had to be easy to manage. We needed to leverage our VMware expertise. Obviously, we've been very successful as a company in kind of building experts internally and working with customers that seem to recognize that fact. We needed to be able to trend with historical data, which a lot of the tools, pretty much all of them, don't do. It needed to be one single interface and needed to allow us to write customized queries, in essence, so that we can kind of ask the thing questions. We needed the magic 8-ball. I kind of did this for a while and said, all right, well, it can't be that hard. These guys can find what they're looking for, C3PO and R2D2. It can't be that hard for us. And I looked around all over the place and didn't really find anything that fit all that criteria. And it was kind of this, I was kind of at this point. Like, literally, just give me a tool, I will pay for it. I don't care what it is. Shut up, take my money. Any Futurama fans? Right on. Okay. I was like, I have money, I need what you have, we just need these things to be covered. And nothing really fit the bill from what I saw at first blush. And then we kind of had this idea moment. So we worked with a lot of partners in the ecosystem, and we found this one partner that we really thought would be a great entity to work with that could fulfill a lot of the requirements they wanted on the back end, and maybe we could work with them in tandem to build this tool. So I want to take a moment to introduce John Blumenthal. He's the VP of Product at Cloud Physics. This is the tool that we are working with to build the Ahead Optimization Service. That's what AOS stands for. Why don't you come up, John? Let's talk a little bit about what's going on there.
Thank you, Chris. So we just had a little bit of a walkthrough of what's the problem actually in our industry. It would be called a false alarm. So like what we just had, right? So working with bad data is really the essence of bad decisions and bad actions. And so one of the things that we decided we could really focus on is becoming a data arms merchant for VCDXs like what you have at Ahead. So if you put excellent data together with that type of domain expertise, there's some really amazing things that can happen when it comes to figuring out what is the best cost, what's the best performance, what's the best health with which you could actually run an infrastructure. And so what you have up here on the slide is really a depiction of what is technical debt, as Gene Kim was talking about it. And making your way through this maze is pretty much impossible today, because every time you create one of these struts or a new structure inside of your data center, it comes with its own data set. And the problem with that is that all those data sets get bigger, they're more fragmented, and you can't really put together good data to make good decisions about how to run, how to design. And that's really what's led us to focus on a way to help you make better decisions. So this slide holds out a framework for how you make decisions that some fancy Harvard Business School professor put together. And on the left-hand side, with complex and chaotic processes, you have a way to actually make a pattern-based decision. This is not good. You want to make fact-based decisions. You want to operate from a place where you actually have good data, and you can actually start to put together the forensics of cause and effect to figure out what might go wrong when you're actually trying to analyze a system for health. And so the place you want to be operating and where the AOS service has been designed to take you is over to the right-hand side, where you can actually start to get ahead of problems, pardon the pun, and actually operate in a way that has greater stability and greater safety. So the essence of doing that is really with the power of a really good data set and domain expertise to help interpret and analyze that data for you. So we basically have been addressing this problem with a platform-based approach that we've hooked up with Eric and Brian and Chris on this. And the fact is, reflected in what Chris was saying, that everybody's got data. The problem is that that data can't be put into play to actually help you solve your problems. And so at Cloud Physics, we have this data. And as a bunch of former VMware employees, we understood how problematic it is to actually get good data out of the vSphere APIs. So our mission that happened to coincide with what OHEDA is doing with the OS service is to literally make the vSphere APIs consumable by giving them richness in context and do these things that really are not done in other products. And so that entire trap of assembled products that Chris put up there is done away with by fundamentally different and new things that are being done with the data that comes out of ESX. And with that, you face one more challenge that Chris also highlighted as to what do you do with all this complex stuff. And really, it's a very, very difficult parallel problem, which is once you've processed all this magical data, how are you going to present it? And simplicity is a really difficult thing to do from an engineering perspective, but that's what we do. And the way that we're presenting it is through a user interface that's just completely simplified. It resembles a lot of things that you use in your consumer life on your mobile devices. And it allows for domain experts like the head team to actually fashion very, very focused utilities and tools to deliver a solution that takes you into a much more advanced and safer state in which you can operate. So, best data you can get, best domain experts, put it up simple, and you don't have walkthroughs like the one that we just went through.
Fair enough. All right, so I think he's obviously way better at this than I am. So what were the results? So now we have a platform that we can kind of query like the magic 8-ball or like the crystal ball. We have all this data being pumped in from really the whole world. You know, everybody's collecting data, sending it up, it's sanitized, et cetera. Now we can start asking really meaningful questions in real time, and we can build reports around this. So we're not limited to whatever the vendor, you know, whatever that may be today, thinks is important. We can work with Cloud Physics and say, we want to ask these 19 questions, or in this case, these 60 some odd questions. And I want results not only from the particular environment that I'm looking at, but other environments to help drive answers to questions that are somewhat difficult to grasp. You know, if I look at just your environment, I can't really tell, is that normal necessarily for your size, geography, or your vertical. But with this, I can kind of look across the ecosystem and help you understand if you're doing good, bad, somewhere in the middle, et cetera. So they were pretty snazzy results. Specifically, the service that is the AHEAD optimized service offers the ability for us to pump in all of these various reports. We've written, they're called cards in Cloud Physics. I think we've written over 60 of them so far. We're working, you know, hip to hip with these folks to build out customized, you know, complex queries that look across your data set in a very holistic way. So we can work with them to build in these questions. And we have the stock metrics that they provide as well. They have a number of kind of can cards, so to speak, that we can use. We get all the data at a global level, right? So we can answer questions such as, how's your consolidation ratio look? Who's doing better? Who's doing worse, et cetera? We get knowledge-based integration. We can start querying things like the KBs that are provided by HP and VMware and Cisco and such against your environment, which to me is pretty huge. You know, how much effort does it take to review all of the knowledge base articles that are potentially relevant for your entire environment in real time? You know, to look up all those critical, you know, purple screens and all that kind of stuff. We can do that in real time. And zero-day exploit awareness. So the Heartbleed, bash bug, all that kind of stuff. We can use this tool to help build metrics to say, are you vulnerable to this? And as soon as it comes out, you can be alerted to that. So it gives you a much more proactive. In the case of the 0-day, it's a little bit reactive, but if you know about it the day that it happened or the day afterwards and you're able to say, these 35 hosts are vulnerable to it, that's some powerful data, right? So that's why I like this particular tool quite well as a kind of a back end for us. So the process that we use for the AHEAD optimized service, the AOS, is we kind of work with them on new card development. That's how we build these queries. We get feedback from you, the customers, as well as our internal team. We meet, you know, roughly weekly with your experts to figure out how can we make these cards, you know, reality. How can we take the engineering kind of out of it for you, abstract it away, and build you a report saying these are the things you need to focus on. And then we add those to the feature set. We put it in the backlog, we add it to their sprints, et cetera, and then we publish it to you. So the nice thing is, as you're consuming this product, right, or this service in the case that it may be, we're adding these things all the time, and you're not having to do anything to make them show up. They just start showing up in your dashboard. It's a service that you consume monthly, quarterly, yearly, et cetera. We also had a health winner. We had basically a contest to see who had the healthiest environment. Like, oh, I want to take a bite out of that data center. It's very healthy. I don't know, something like that. So we had people sign up. They were able to feed their environment into cloud physics tool using a lot of the metrics that we look at and things that they feel are important as well. And we picked out dead space, basically what's unused space on your data stores that could be reclaimed ultimately. In this case, the Healthiest Environment Award winner had 0% dead space, which is phenomenal. I don't know what kind of wizardry is going on there. Very few unused virtual machines, typically called zombie virtual machines, things that are just sitting there quietly and idle, not doing anything. Those are waste. You typically do a waste-finding activity there. So very few of those. No risk of the disk full contention, the actual partition within the virtual machine hitting a disk full state, which is also kind of awesome, because I'm a longtime ops guy, right? You deploy an application, and they just let the log go crazy on the C drive, and then the OS stops running, and it's your problem, right? So that's pretty good that they have that. And then no heartbleed. I can't tell you how many folks are still running environments today. It's been, 6 months since that came out? Still very susceptible to heartbleed. There's very specific versions of ESXi that are vulnerable. And a lot of people are still vulnerable. And we can target and say, these are these specific hosts. In this particular case, 0 vulnerabilities. So it's nice to be able to see that. So the winner is Amerisure Insurance. Round of applause. Good job. If you're interested in this for your environment, talk to someone at AHEAD. There's a lot of sales reps. We've got a number of folks in the audience as well that can give you more of a brief on this, help start potentially a proof of concept or get you set up for your environment. And then, as always, we do briefings and such like that to educate you further on this and other offerings.